He looks super comfy.
Well, yeah, it's a reclinable mattress. Who wouldn't be comfortable?
Right.
Okay, cat. Hi.
I get my headphones. Oh, God. Oh, I'm so fat.
Can I help you? Hmm?
Meow. Meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Ah, shit.
Don't do that.
That's a bottle of new skin. It's charging.
Hi,
Oh, gee.
Ringo.
Excuse me.
Just got all the animals.
You're a regular Snow White over there.
Mm-hmm. Nah, there'd be some happy cats if I could call over birds with just the sound of my voice.
Oh, geez.
No, don't lay on the keyboard. I guess I'm not typing anything, so. What's on your nose?
Salutations and welcome to yet another episode of the Super Happy Fun Jabbertron Tea Party podcast with Kiki and Cupcake. Enjoy the show, bitches.
So how are you?
I am some sort of baked good quick.
Are you ever anything else?
Not really, no.
Ringo, go lay down. I'm sure go lay down sounds a lot like sniffing my hand in your language. Okay, so what have you been watching?
Yes.
Yes.
Hang on, I gotta pull the thing up. I don't remember.
I hope so. You were the one watching it.
Well, it's just I don't remember what I watched recently. So much of it is, let's just be dead honest, garbage.
As you were saying.
I mean, not garbage, but just not interesting. I'm going to have to add the one I just watched. If it pops up, there we go. By title. Okay. That might be the one. Visible Victory is what this series. Plastics. This. I think. I'm going to preview it. I'm not. That looks. Oh, shit. I don't know if I have the right. I'm trying to find the right entry, and I'm not sure. Oh, jeez. Rico's not happy.
I'm not scratching his ass.
Well, I mean, that's a reason not to be happy. I'm not going to argue. Hang on, I'll be right back. I got to look at which one I've got. Ooh,
Alright.
I'm too fat. I'm too fat. I eat too many cakes. Oh. I gotta see what the number is. It looks like it's almost the exact same, except that. Oh, it's this guy. And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the right entry. This one doesn't have a picture, so I was like, I don't know if this is right. Alright, so what have I watched? I've watched. Had I finished A Sister Is All You Need the last time we talked?
I don't know if you'd finished it. You were watching it.
Watching it. I don't even remember how that ends. I just remember it being really bland.
Oh, so it's not gross.
No, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be like the dude trying to like bang his sister, but like really it's just about the guy having a thing for little sisters.
Okay.
Like, and not like sexually, like he wants a little sister, even though he has a little sister, but she's pretending to be a guy. And I think like the first episode I watched, I sent you a picture of the character, and I was like, yeah, that's definitely a guy with those big glassy eyes.
Yeah.
It's one of those animes where all the guys have like triangular sharp eyes, and all the women have big round glassy eyes. That's how you can like tell them apart from each other. Is like all the women have like big doll eyes, and I was like, it's like she's a guy. Like, yeah, They never do explain what it's about, but in the manga or the light novels, I guess they explain it has something to do with some sort of trauma, that they were trying to protect her from something, and so she's pretending to be a guy to like protect herself.
That would have been interesting to explore.
Right. They never got that far because it's like one of the later books. They only got done like adapting the first couple. And basically the whole game is it's a bunch of light novel authors hanging out. And the hook is that the guy's got a sister complex, which is kind of dumb. Like, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't like terrible at the same time. It was interesting, like a solid B, maybe B minus. Like, it wasn't, like it wasn't boring, but it wasn't like it didn't enthrall me at the same time. It was just like a solid slice of life, I guess. I don't know. It's been like a month since I watched it, so like it's not fresh in my memory anymore. That shows you like what an impact it had. That I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's whatever.
And then you watched older show that I forget the name of.
I'm currently trying to finish up Kanokan, the Girl Who Cried Fox. I'm near the end of that. I didn't quite get done with it because it's honestly god-awful.
Not a lot of older anime is really standing the test of time, is it?
Well, I'll explain what I mean by it's god-awful. It's god-awful in that it pretty regularly leans on provocatively sexual imagery.
Oh, that's right. This is the ecchi one.
Yeah, the big boobied fox girls.
Yes.
And like I said, like there's a scene in episode 10 out of 12 in which she has her powers sealed by a magical poison, and so her powers are manifested by her boob size, so she's flat-chested. And it's suggested by one of the other people that that the freshman boy that she likes, who's the quote-unquote main character, she's like a senior. Like, he should lick her ass because sexual energy makes women's boobs grow. And there's like a 2-3 minute scene of him licking her butt crack. And I'm literally not joking. Like, I just sat there with my mouth wide open, like, they actually did this. Like, it's not what you think it is. He's not eating her out. He's literally licking her butt crack. And I mean, like, literally licking her butt crack. Like, tongue scraping the top of her ass. Like, it's not even, like, I don't even want to call it sexual, because it's not even, it doesn't even go there. It's like, what if you held your tongue out and then just moved your head up and down somebody's butt? I'm not joking. Like the kid is uneasy about doing this to begin with, and I am calling him a kid because he's like half her size. He's fucking like 14, and she's 18, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the boy's tiny. And the other girls are like, no, lick her butt crack. It'll make her titties grow. And I'm just like, oh, you delusional motherfuckers. And they keep telling us, to think about it like an ice cream cone. You just have to lick it like a big hunk of ice cream. And so she's on all fours with her ass up in the air, and he just starts licking back and forth at the top of her butt crack. And I'm just sitting there like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what am I watching? And like his eyes are like a surprised cat. Like his eyes go all wide and like not even like I would say like blanked out, like you see like when they get hypnotized, but it's just more like a cat that's had its mind blown by catnip. It's like goes from like little tiny pupils to just huge. He's just like, oh my god, I have seen the face of Jesus. It's like, what the hell am I watching? And it makes her titties grow 3 millimeters. I'm not even joking.
Okay.
I don't like that. That's, to me, sums up all the weird like sexual shit, quote unquote, that they do in that show. Like that one took the cake. Like, of all the crap they came up with to have the two of them do intimate sexual activities together that's not overtly sex. Because they've yet to actually get to overt sexual penetration. It's been mostly kissing, groping, licking, like everything that isn't actual penetration with genitalia. Which I think is coming, because I haven't even gotten to the OVAs, but I have this feeling like it's gonna bookend on the two of them doing it. But it feels, as an old dude looking at it with a different perspective than I would have had as a teenager, it feels wrong. And the reason why I say it feels wrong is, well, I want to believe the way they wrote the characters, they're supposed to be in love with each other. It just feels like she's exploiting the shit out of him. She's a senior and he's a freshman. Like, I know it's like, everybody goes, well, sorry, it's high school. It's like, he's a baby compared to her.
Yep.
And he's obviously, every time she brings up doing intimate shit with him, he gets really uneasy. He's getting really uneasy because he's not, like, emotionally, mentally, prepared.
He's not mentally mature enough for this.
Right. He's not emotionally ready to be doing this kind of shit. Like, I'll give them the kissing and hugging and snuggling and all that shit. Like, even maybe a little bit of the groping. Like, I'm not going to argue that. Like, that doesn't seem as bad as her actively trying to jump his bones. And she is actively trying the entire series. And I haven't finished it, obviously, so I have no idea how it's even going to end. I have, like, 2 episodes to go. I'm on the beach episode right now. When you called me, I was, like, 10 minutes into the beach episode, and the lolly wolf demon girl is wearing 3 Band-Aids as her bathing suit, and that's the big, like, hook of this episode so far. And I realize I shouldn't be this angry about a show that I hate. It's not even a hate. It's just like I want the writing to be good. Like, there's ways they could have written this that would make it way less squicky about the way that they're going about their relationship, because they claim to each other over and over that they're in love with each other. He loves her, and he loves her no matter what, and she likes him, and she'll be in love with him forever. But she's... I don't mind the touchy-feeliness that she's like a really touchy-feely character. Like, that wasn't what grossed me out initially. It was the fact that she was pushing the kid so hard to bang her because, like, if I understood the concept correctly, once they've quote-unquote intermingled, like, like, her mother can't call her back home kind of thing. Like, she can't be separated from him because they have a bond. And it's like, you're a 900-year-old fox demon masquerading as an 18-year-old high school senior because you're in love with this freshman. At least I think that's what they're saying. I think she's older than she looks. Like, for a fox demon, she's a kid, but, like, chronologically, she's hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
And so, like, has long since been through school and blah, blah, blah. And because her mother, who is, like, the actual, like, queen of the fox demons or whatever, like, she looks like she's in her, like, late 30s, early 40s. Like, she doesn't look old. She looks like an adult, like somebody's mother who has a almost grown daughter. But she doesn't look old. And the daughter, who, you know, obviously chasing the main character, looks like she's 18, but sounds like she's hundreds of years old. And just kind of like, there's all these people vying for him, and I don't get it. Like, the show does a lot of the insert a reason for a dramatic moment, but then remove it at the end of the episode. The drama does not flow naturally through the story. It is inserted via, like, Deus Ex Machina style, like, somebody comes to town and they've got an issue with the main character, and so then the main character and the fox girl have to fight together to defend their love, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the episode, everybody goes home happy. And it's kind of like, there's nothing technically wrong with the adversarial system they're doing, but they just insert them at random. There's no build-up. There's no, like, well, this person is here because of this, and, you know, they've been moving around in the background for, like, the last 8 episodes. The reason why you're only seeing them now is that, you know, this person and this person failed, and so now they're sending, you know, the big bad dragon person to, you know, do the job. And that's why they're here now. And so it's like, this person shows up, and they're going to test you, and hey, you passed the test, and I guess they're going to go home. What?
That's lazy plot.
Right, like, does any part of my mad rambling make any sense to, like, what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
It's not that the show is bad, it's that the writing is really, really stilted, jagged. I feel like the books were a lot bigger, and they were just pulling plot points out. Like, it's like, what if we made a TV series that was just the Cliff Notes version of a book? You know, there's no nuance, there's no build up, there's no explanation. It's just, they're here, and they're gonna do stuff, and then they're gonna, you know, once the plot point is explained or concluded, then they're going to disappear back into the mist. Because, like, none of the big villains have, like, I mean, it's only 13 episodes, but none of the big villains have re-emerged since the episode where they first showed up. And that kind of bugs me. Not because I have an issue with, like, a villain of the week, but because the show is not written in a way that would make a villain of the week make sense. This is not Sailor Moon or Power Rangers. It's like, the villains should be more, because they're not killed. It's not like they're enemies that are killed. They just, like, they fail and they kind of, you know, fade back into the mist. And it's like, they're not dead, but they're never spoken of again. He's just, like, taking it all in, like, okay, then.
So it was made for dramatic, not quite porn reasons.
Right. It's like somebody did a good enough job with the manga or the light novel, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna make an anime of it," but they didn't get a really great budget. And to be dead honest, the show probably didn't have a ton of really deep plot, and so it just kind of got smushed, like a mishmash of plot points got pushed together to make a 13-episode TV series. It's the kind of thing that horny teenage boys would watch.
It's probably made for horny teenage boys.
I think so. I feel like it's the kind of thing that I, as like a 17-year-old, probably would have really enjoyed. But as a 32-year-old, like, I enjoy, gratuitous sexual imagery as much as the next guy. But, like, it's not... It doesn't... I want a little more build-up to nudity than just, like, nudity! Wham! It's like, okay... I mean, I can get like the Ikki Tosen, like, the girls fight really hard and their clothes get ripped off because they're using super energy attacks, and so like it's just like blowing their clothing apart. Fine, okay, not particularly super realistic, but I'll go with it. This is more like, oh, I'm in love with you, so I'm gonna rip my top off. Like, what? You're in the middle of high school. Like, what? Or, you're like in the middle of your school day. Just like, we're gonna go to the nurse's office and fondle each other. What? What the hell am I watching?
You're watching a teenager, and how old did you say she was?
I want to say she's supposed to be like 18. I can't tell if she's supposed to be the same age as him or if she's older, but she's way bigger than he is. Like, she stands a good head and a half taller than he does. And I get the whole boys mature later than girls, but like, she's huge compared to him. He's tiny.
Well, yeah, she's a fox spirit.
Right.
They tend to be portrayed as tall, voluptuous women.
Right, and that's exactly what she is. Like, she's got huge Bodog honkeroos. Like, I mean, just massive honkers. Just, and they're jelly filled. It's like I was making the argument about, like, oh man, tight fitting clothing. There's 2 giant jelly filled donuts where her boobs should be. And the only reason I even noticed this is because of you. At some point, you mentioned that's not realistic, and I realized it. And so now every time I see it in an anime, I notice it.
I mean, I'm not asking much from anime, but...
Right. And it's not even something like you made a big deal of. You just mentioned it one time. You're like, oh, that's not how clothing falls on a woman. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. But it was like something I never gave a thought to until someone mentioned it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No.
And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, once you made a point, I don't even remember what we were talking about. I just showed you like a piece of art, and you're like, oh yeah, that's not how that actually works. I'm like, what? You're like, yeah, here's an example of how it's supposed to look. And I'm like, oh my god, I've never noticed this. So every time you see a girl like in latex, there's just like 2 spheres. It's like, or spandex or whatever, tight fitting clothing, catsuit. It's like, that's actually not how it works in real life. And you like looked up pictures of girls in catsuits, and it's like, yeah, no, it's just kind of like a hump.
Mm-hmm.
There's no valley in between, and there's no, like, when you see that in real life, it's because the suit was built with basically balloon pockets in the front.
Yeah. So that the boobs would have to look like that.
Right.
Which I can only imagine would be incredibly uncomfortable.
Right, pressing on your actual titties. Like, I'm imagining most women, have something there, and so you blow these inflatable bladders up. Now they're pushing on your chest, which I mean, I'm not a woman, I can't imagine what that feels, but I don't imagine it feels nice.
I'm sure there's a margin of women who find that pleasurable, but only for a certain amount of time, and I don't
Right.
imagine wandering around in a cat suit for very long would be that amount of time.
Right. But yeah, so I haven't quite finished that, but I'm damn close.
What is that called again?
Katokon, the girl who cried fox. I may have butchered the name. It's like Kanokon. Kanokon. Oh, I got it right. Wow.
Woo! You remembered a thing correctly.
But yeah, like there's a thing with like her, like when she wears like there's like her in her gym uniform, and it's just like two giant spheres. It's like that's not how a t-shirt would fit on a woman.
Didn't you watch something else though too?
The other thing I just finished was Full Metal Panic Fumafu, which is the comedy spin-off half season between seasons 1 and 2. And the main reason I didn't enjoy that is that the humor is really dated.
How old is that?
2005?
Oh, okay, it's not that old.
Yeah,
It's
no, I mean, we're
old,
talking
but-
post 2000s. Shit.
Man, that makes me feel old.
I mean, we're talking it's over 10 years old. Which I know doesn't seem like very long, but for anime, that's pretty old at this point. Excuse me. I'm trying to find the original copyright date, but it's like not on. FBI warning, do not reproduce. I kind of find that amazing that they don't. Usually they had the copyright date somewhere on the thing, but it's not. Now let me pull it up. I just added it to my database, so it should be 2003. I'm sorry. It's from 2003.
You weren't that far off.
Because the original series is from 2002. Well, yeah, so plays pretty heavily into, main guy is a soldier and has no, the hell you want to call it? No decorum, no protocol for being in school. He does, very. All he's ever, he was a child soldier, so all he's ever known is the battlefield. So it's like the whole thing about, right. I mean, like he's a nice guy, and he's like a good guy or whatever. But like he's very much like she hits him with a paper fan every time he does something dumb. Yeah, he's baka baka baka. And it's not quite obnoxious, but it is very much like this show is obviously coming right out of like the 80s and 90s, comedy anime genre. It's supposed to be very surreal. Like nobody gets hurt, nobody dies, but like there's a lot of like physical comedy. Like the style of comedy is physical comedy, pratfalls, paper fans, misunderstandings. It's very Three Stooges or Marx Brothers, like, and you'd think that would be good, but it's not done very well. Like Marx Brothers, Three Stooges, etc. is funny. Laurel and Hardy are funny because it's wordplay, but some a little bit of physical comedy. I always go back to Night at the Casablanca, which is the Marx Brothers movie. There's the famous scene where the constable, whatever, is walking down the street, and he sees Harpo Marx, like leaning up against the building, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, holding up the building. Come here, you! And he grabs him, and the whole building falls over. And Harpo just goes, He goes, "You really were holding up the building. Guess I, have to eat my words." It's like, oh yeah, okay. It's funny because he says he's holding up the building, and then when he pulls him away, the building falls. So he really was holding up the building. Ha 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 ha. And and some of it's lost, telling, explaining the joke as much as just seeing him do it at random. Because you're not expecting when he pulls them away the whole front of the building to fall on them. It falls out of them. They're in the window space so they don't get hurt. But it's just like, oh, you were holding up the building. Like, okay. It's that, but like none of the all the jokes are really obviously telegraphed, so it's not very funny. I think what bothered me most about it was like you could tell the joke. I mean, obviously I'd seen it before too, so kind of picked up where the jokes were coming from. But I kind of remember even when I watched it the first time, like the jokes are really obviously telegraphed. Like in the last episode, the main character Sosuke gets a canister of something instead of a gun sight that he orders. He calls the people he ordered it from in England and says, "You gave me a canister of a biological weapon, and how could you send this through the mail?" And then it looks like a thermos, and he and the main girl get pulled away to the office, and some kid runs in from eating like spicy food. He goes, "Oh, give me that! I need some water!" And he opens it up and splashes it all over the place. He's like, "This isn't water. This is something else." He spills it everywhere, and it's like, then like everybody's like completely oblivious to the fact that he just spread a biological agent through the whole entire classroom. Then like the main guy Sasuke comes back and he's like, "You opened the thing. You unleashed this biological weapon on this classroom. Like, everyone's going to die." And there's this whole long, drawn-out spiel about, like, they're all going to die, but he has an antidote, but there's only one antidote for the entire classroom, so they're going to draw straws to see who's going to get it. And, misunderstandings happen, and blah, blah, blah. And the entire time, the main character's reading, like, the manual, and he's slowly working his way through the manual, and eventually he tells the main girl to like come with him to the nurse's office, and everybody's at some point everybody's like spread out to the four winds, and like the whole entire school is contaminated, and they're all slowly dying, and like the main character and the main girl are like sitting in the nurse's office, and he tells her like really quickly, he's like, "Take off your clothes," and she's like, I'm not ready for this. Like she thinks like he wants to do it with her before they die. He's like, no. He's like, "Take off your clothes and put this robe on." And she's like, "Why?" He's like, "Just do it." And then it cuts away. And you see like a couple of the kids like out in like the courtyard, like, slowly dying. Then it turns out that what was actually in there was a bacteria that eats synthetic materials, and everybody's clothes disintegrate.
Ah.
And so the entire seriousness of the entire 20-minute episode is sold on the punchline. He unleashed a clothes-eating bacteria on the school. And none of the boys were affected because it only eats synthetic materials and their uniforms are made of wool. But the girls' clothes are made of nylon. Synthetic materials. Which is why he told her to undress and put on a cotton robe, and all the other girls are running around naked. And that's the rub.
That's a bit more than a rub.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that, but it's like that's the punchline. He accidentally unleashed a clothes-eating bacteria on the school. And basically, all the guys are fine because they're wearing wool uniforms, but the girls are not because theirs contain synthetic fibers. And so their uniforms, their bras, their panties, all disintegrated because all of them have some form of nylon or plastic in them, and it ate them. And the whole show plays off this premise. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not even saying it's boring. It's just not very good. Like, it's not that I didn't find the joke, like, in the idea of the joke funny, because I did, but it was like, what an obvious setup. The boys' clothing is all made of wool, and therefore they're not affected, which is why he's still standing around in the nurse's office with his whole uniform on, and the girl is hiding under a robe because her clothing literally disintegrated in front of her. And she's only saved from the fate of being seen nude because, she's friends with him and he knew it was going to happen. So he grabbed her and dragged her off to a secluded spot where he could protect her. And all the other girls are, basically trying to hide their shame. And I think like one other girl is saved because she's like the secretary for the student council and she's in love with the president. And the president like sees her clothing she's like sitting in like the council room or whatever by herself. She thinks she's going to die and her clothing starts to disintegrate and he sees it. He literally just takes off his like uniform suit coat thing and just wraps it around her. And she's like, well, won't this disintegrate too? He's like, it's made of wool. And it's like, fuck you. Fuck you for that obvious bullshit plot point that all the boys' uniforms are made of wool and therefore will not disintegrate. I'm sorry, I forgot to explain how they explain why the boys' clothing isn't disintegrating.
Okay, then. I can see how that's, a little boring.
Right. I mean, I don't want to call it boring, but that's kind of... But that was kind of the issue. Just like... it's... And I'm terrified because, like, I wasn't... I mean, I liked the actual, like, canonical, like, real story more than... And Fumafu's not bad. Fumafu's just, like, it's a creature of a different era. Like, I don't remember loving it when it came out initially, but I don't remember hating it. Like, now I really, like, didn't like it. Before it was just kind of mild dislike. 12 years older Cupcake is like, that was kind of bad. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. It's a solid C. It's passable, it has a plot, but it's just not very interesting. It's not boring. I wasn't bored to tears, but it wasn't like something I'd ever want to rewatch ever. I'm rewatching it because the newest season is out, and I can't remember like what happened. So here I sit, wondering where I went so terribly, terribly wrong. And I've been having this issue with a lot of older animes. It's just like, they're not bad, just not very good. I mean, obviously, like we were saying, like my standards have come up a little bit. It's... I don't know how to put into words that, like... I just have a lot higher expectations for the writing, I think, is what it really comes down to. It's... I was talking to another friend who's a comic book aficionado, and she was saying, like, it's because she argued that because the pool of what I have seen / experienced is so much larger, what I expect from the things that I'm watching is a lot higher than it's like, if it's the first movie you've ever seen, it might be the greatest movie you've ever seen. If it's the second movie you've ever seen, it might still be the greatest movie you've ever seen. But when you get to like your 100,000th movie, your standards have come up a lot farther because you've seen a lot more stuff.
That makes a lot of sense.
And this conversation was like, I remember when I first started watching anime, everything I watched was amazing. I was enthralled by everything because it was new and fresh, and I didn't know anything about anything in the whole medium. So I made the argument to her, I'm like, it's not a genre, it's a medium. And I said, like, I think what happened is, like, I started picking up on, like, common plot points, plot threads, and am not nearly as impressed now because a lot of plot points get reused over and over again unless somebody does something to give a fresh spin to an old or to a standardized plot point. It's not going to be very interesting if you've seen it 100 times. And then sometimes the writing's just not very good. Like, my argument with, like, people are like, Fushugi Yugi was a classic. I, like, watched it, I was like, it's a lot of overdramatic, romantic bullshit. It's the kind of thing that teenagers do. Oh, he doesn't love me. He's in love with her. And it's just a misunderstanding. And, like, 6 episodes of the main character going, he never loved me. He was always in love with her. And at some point, the guy finally catches up with her, and he's like, what the hell is your problem? And she's like, well, you were always in love with her. And he's like, that's my sister, stupid. And then it's over. Like, they go back to normal. It's always some dumb shit like that. It's never like, no one ever talks to each other. Like, she has a problem with, like, something he's doing, and instead of just going to him and saying, what the hell is going on? Who is this girl? And him going, well, that's my sister. And her going, oh, okay. It's like 6 episodes of faffing about of how he never really loved her in the first place, even though they've been in love, quote unquote, for 20 episodes. And that's the kind of shit that keeps me up at night.
It keeps you up at night.
Not literally, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm into the quote unquote meta game of storytelling, I guess. I've gotten beyond the obvious shit, and I'm now in, like, the meta. Like, this writing is bad because you use this trope badly. This particular idea has been done 1,000 times. You didn't do it as well as this other person did. There's nothing wrong with quote-unquote sexual tension or romantic relationships, but inevitably, I'm really going to hate saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Women write women better in romantic relationships.
Why do you hate saying that? It's almost like it's true.
It's because it is true, and it sounds terrible, but it's the honest-to-God truth. In general, women writers do romantic relationships way more realistically than men do.
To be fair, it's kind of expected of women, though.
Right, no, I don't want to put that stereotype. I don't want to put forward that stereotype. But my experience is, when it comes to writing romance, or let's just say realistic relationships, like I'll scratch the whole idea of like it's a romance genre. Just realistic relationships are better written. And what my experience has been, like in anime at least, like women writers have done a better job with like the day-to-day minutia of relationships. Male writers are more about getting to going out. Women are writing about what happens after you're going out. Like the actual like being together. You know, it's like the end of the anime is not the confession of love. That's just the beginning. And like, you know, obviously you have good examples of like My Love Story, in which it's really about the two of them going out, or even my personal favorite, which is, everybody laughs at me when I say this, but Eureka 7, like the original Eureka 7, is a show about relationships at every stage of life.
Yeah. Because
you have Renton and Eureka, who are kids, basically. You have Hilda and Matthew, who are, or actually better that you have Moondoggy and Gidget, who are like late teens because Eureka and Renton are like younger, like first part of high school. Gidget and Moondoggy are back half of high school. Hilda and Matthew are young adults. They're in their early 20s. You have can't think of his name. Talho, and then the leader, I can't think of Holland. Talho and Holland, who are late. She's late 20s, he's early 30s, and they're having a kid. And like how that changes their relationship. There's like a 5-episode arc where Holland just goes on a rampage because he can't handle that he's getting older and that his quote unquote girlfriend is pregnant. And it's almost hilarious because it's his coming of age as much as it is Renton's coming of age, because he can't stop, or he can't keep running away from responsibility. And like his whole like centering himself and finding his inner balance, because the show starts with him being a goddamn emotional wreck. He throws things, he acts out, because he's never dealt with the demons inside of him. And I almost find like Renton's transition to adulthood is interesting, but Holland's transition to quote unquote being a man is the most interesting of all to me. Because he acts like a petulant child like for the first half of the series, and then he finds out that his girlfriend is pregnant and he has to grow up. He doesn't have to grow up, but he makes the decision to grow up. And that whole going from an angry, petulant asshole to like finding his center and gaining control or some discipline over his emotions and his actions. It's just a really interesting transition to me. Because for most of the men in that story, the real, like, what I took away from it is the real, like, primacy of the theme for them, at least, is what does it mean to be a man? Is it age? Is it experience? Is it how you act? Is it how you respond to things? Like, what makes you a man in the eyes of your peers? And it's interesting in that it's less because they initially make the argument that it's age and experience, but it really ends up being how you act determines if you are, I don't say respected, but if you are considered an adult. Your reactions to scenarios, to situations, determines if your peers, the people around you, consider you an adult or not. And throwing a 15-year-old boy over a railing 2 stories down definitely does not get you those brownie points.
Nope.
Because there's a point where Renton is arguing with Holland, and Holland just gets pissed and just basically takes him by the shirt tails, and just throws him over a safety rail, and he falls like 20 feet. And like literally all the other guys on the bridge have to look at him and go, "What the hell are you doing? He's a 15-year-old boy. You can't just act out against him because you don't like what he's saying. Like, be an adult." It's like, "I am an adult." It's like, "Are you? You just threw him over a railing." And he just kind of like looks at them like, "Well, you're right, but fuck you." And like, I mean, like, I watched that show 10 years ago, but like, or maybe more, but like that scene really stuck with me as like this real, like, there's just this point of like having his own quote unquote maturity thrown back in his face by the other adults in the room.
Oh, you said it was old.
What's up?
That show's old now.
Yeah, it's from 2000 something. Because I was, God, what? I think I was early college when that came out. I think I might have been in high school.
Oh, God.
Because I remember watching that on Cartoon Network every week. Hang on, I gotta go all the way back. Wait, I have this in order, so I have to go all the way back. Back to a time when dinosaurs ruled the earth. There's Gurren Lagann, Naruto, Oh My Goddess. Okay, so here's where I initially added everything in, so it's somewhere in here. Nagima, Hellsing, Geno Cyber, Fruits Baskets. Okay. 2005. So it was my senior year of high school it came out.
What was I doing in 2005?
Probably having a whole lot of fun.
Part of me doubts it.
Pardon me.
I didn't get to watch much because I was not sleeping,
Oof.
and then sleeping, and then not sleeping, and then sleeping, and then not sleeping. And there was a hiccup with our insurance, and we don't have it. And I am all out of sleep med,
Oh no.
which means I'm not sleeping. Except for the occasional nap when I'm just too tired to not sleep. Where the brain just can't help itself. And Crunchyroll hasn't been working for me, so I haven't been able to watch much.
Well, that's good, I think.
I did watch Ocean Waves the other day, trying to sleep.
Right.
That movie holds up.
Well, that's good. I've never actually seen Ocean Waves.
It's from 93. I don't know how long ago it was dubbed.
I don't know if Ocean Waves ever did get dubbed. Probably did.
In 2016, G-Kids announced the film would be remastered for a limited theatrical release. Doesn't say anything about dubbing, though. I mean, it's not like the most in-depth story ever. It's just a love triangle between older teenagers and somebody kind of looking fondly back on it while re-meeting everyone once again a couple years later.
Crazy.
I wouldn't really call it crazy.
I don't know. All of those Ghibli films are just like, I mean, I'm still stuck on Up on Poppy Hill.
Well, that's a beautiful one.
Yeah, it's a great film. Just like the roller coaster ride about the two main characters' relationships.
Whether or not they're related and can have a relationship.
Right. And like the
to spoil the plot.
Right.
It's like, oh no. You're adopted.
Right.
It's all good. To get more spoil the plot.
Right.
Of a movie from 2011.
I feel pretty safe with spoiling the plot.
I still haven't seen The Wind Rises or when
I haven't either.
Marine was there. I saw Princess Kaguya.
Oh yeah? Was that good?
You have to be in the right mind frame to watch it because it has very little speech. Because it's just very visually appealing.
Okay.
And it's a very classic tale. Classic Japanese tale, that is.
Right, yeah.
But yes, it's good. At least I don't remember a lot of talking.
Probably wasn't.
Did you see the speaking of Gibberish. Ghibli.
Gibberish. Sorry, okay, now.
Brings us to, how do you say his name? Because he works for Ghibli.
The big boy himself or somebody different?
No, I'm not talking about Miyazaki.
Okay.
He's an animator. He didn't do it, but it brings us to it. Akira. He was an animator on it.
Okay.
That and Angel's Egg. Have you ever seen Angel's Egg?
I've heard of it. I don't believe I've ever watched it.
It's another one I rewatched recently.
I feel like that's Mamoru Oshii.
Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Mamoru Oshii is the director. Ghost in the Shell, General the Wolf Brigade.
I don't think I'm thinking of the director. I'm thinking of an animator.
Okay, let me see what else I can figure out. Not Yoshitaka Amano.
Kiko Futaki?
All right, let me take a look.
Her, not him. Her. No, she has worked on a lot of shit.
I don't think I've ever heard of her. Fuck.
She's still with Ghibli, apparently.
Not a shock.
I wouldn't leave a winner unless something was wrong.
Right. Indeed.
Anyway, did you hear the Akira news?
Yeah, they're remaking it.
What was that? As a series instead of a movie?
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing
I would look it up, but there's a cat on my keyboard.
That sounds like what they were gonna do. I know they said they're gonna do a more true to
The manga?
To the manga, yeah.
Which, I suppose you can argue a lot of things are doing nowadays. Oh, hi, Ghost. Are you going to join the party as well? Make it even harder to use the computer? But I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Is the live-action adaptation still on?
They're really gonna still try?
According to the Wikipedia page.
I mean,
2021?
Yes. I don't know. I just like actively avoid all live action adaptations of anime at this point.
If it's not made by the country that made it, I don't tend to want to watch it. I'm especially not looking forward to the live action version.
They're making a live action version of Your Name?
Yes, it will here in the States. If I remember right, it's a guy from Chicago and a Native American girl.
I mean, Your Name was a bad movie to begin with. You're not missing anything. I can't stand that.
I still have not seen
movies. It. They're all pretentious. They're all stupid. I'm sorry. Oh God, it's.
I like pretentious.
I'm gonna spoil it. It's a time travel movie.
I am pretentious. Well, I already know the basic plot.
It's Back to the Future, okay? It's Back to the
just
goddamn
haven't bothered
future.
to see it yet.
Except he's not screwing. No, there's a.
They have a DeLorean?
Magical chalice involved, but basically, it's like what if Freaky Friday and Back to the Future were mixed together.
Ah.
Because instead of going back in a DeLorean, basically they switch places. Their minds switch places and their bodies stay. And so he wakes up in her body for a day, and she wakes up in his. And initially, they're like, doing crazy shit, but eventually they figure out what's going on, and they start like leaving notes for each other. It's I can't stand his movies. I've watched, 3 of them, and all of them just come off as overly pretentious and bittersweet. It's never a happy ending. It's always well, life sucks. Get used to it. It's like, how about fuck you?
Yep. Oh.
I don't know what it is, but I'm a big hater on like bad endings. Like, ha ha, you tried hard, but you still fail. It's like, god damn it. Everyone but me seems to. I can't stand those. It's like, you just made me waste 2 hours of my life to find out that everybody lost anyway. To quote Linkin Park, you came so far, you tried so hard. At the end, nothing really mattered.
Aww.
I'm sure he is.
Mike Shinoda's supposed to be dropping an album pretty soon. Well, we gotta pay the bills somehow.
I mean, considering the fact that the lead singer committed suicide, last summer? Kinda gotta do something else.
Yeah.
That was really insensitive, and I'm sorry, but it just kind of came out that way.
It wasn't that insensitive. You're just stating facts.
Something, we do not speak ill
Nothing
of
wrong
the
with
dead.
Facts.
But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I'm excited because I think it's November. A Silent Voice comes out on disc. I mean, it's already been out. No, it's like, I think it's out for streaming, but like the limited edition,
it's not out?
like physical release isn't, I think, till November. Like, you can get the regular one right now, but if you want the limited edition, it's like November. It's sometime this fall. It's a great movie. There's a couple scenes that just ripped my heart out. Not actually sad scenes per se, but just the raw emotion. I just saw that the second half of Clear Card Saga for Card Captors just came out, so I gotta make a point to watch for that to go on sale.
Oh.
I really need to rewatch the original series so that I can watch Clear Card. I started, I got like a couple discs in, and then I got bored.
I thought you did.
None of the show is bad. I just kind of like, it's so calming that I keep falling asleep. Like, different reason for stopping is like not bored in the sense that it was boring, but bored in the sense it's like, this is really. I actually still love that show. I rewatched it. I don't know, like a year or two ago when I got it on disc. Actually, I think it was more than that. I think it was 5. But anyway, when I got it on DVD, I watched it all, and I really liked it. And I still really like it. I just kind of like kept falling asleep every time I tried to watch it.
Did you see the trailer for Lupin III the First?
Yes, that looks amazing.
I haven't actually watched it yet. Does it look good though?
Yeah, I think it looks awesome.
Good then.
Woof. Philadelphians debate whether parks and rec centers should use anti-personnel weapons that indiscriminately target children. The mosquito is a high-pitched tone generator designed only to be audible to children and teens, but not to adults, whose ears' nerve cells have since died that can detect these high tones. In Philadelphia, 30 city parks and rec facilities have deployed these anti-personnel weapons under the auspice of deterring loitering and vandalism. 20 other U.S. cities have also deployed these weapons. The use of it has sparked a public debate. City council members have decried the use of sonic weapons in a city that is trying to address gun violence and safe spaces for younger people. The ideas are funded by taxpayer dollars that turn young people away from the very places that were created for them. Also, part of the debate has been sparked by older people whose high-range hearing has not been disabled. One 27-year-old woman says that since they've been deployed, a constant headache, or since since she's had a constant headache since they were deployed in a nearby park where she lives. They're controversial, oftentimes used in unpopular ways. Weapons are condemned by the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Children. From the website, the company states that the Mosquito Mark IV's maximum volume is 100 decibels. This is an order of magnitude louder than a lawnmower, and a safe exposure sound of any noise is 15 minutes. Standard volume of 85 decibels is still as loud as a vacuum cleaner, loud enough to cause hearing loss after extended exposure. So basically, you could make a whole bunch of kids go deaf because you don't want them to go anywhere near something.
Yeah. I don't feel like that's a good response.
It's just like, what the hell is wrong with people? I just like the things are loud enough to cause hearing damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the part that really got me. Like, I'm not even gonna argue about the annoyance, but like that they can be used in a way that's loud enough to actually cause physical permanent damage to someone's hearing. That's an asshole move.
Oh boy.
The more I read comments about shit like this, the more my head just explodes. Oh my god, it's the most amazing thing ever. Just like a random story. There was an ice storm in our town and tons of businesses were closed. But the one Thai restaurant, remember this little lady was still open. And so they started talking about it. And she's like, she's not super educated, but she's very outspoken and she doesn't care what people think. She's just trying to live her life. Fuck you, Trump, she exclaims as she tosses chopped chicken into one of her pans. I make this country. Again, big broad smile. Classic immigrant story. Determined, hardworking, saving every penny, investing carefully. I want everybody who walks in here with $10 to walk out with enough food for 2 people, she tells me. Good food, lots of food. People come in here with no money, no problem. I feed them. My husband said I'd be out of business in 3 months. She says with sense of satisfaction. I'm very determined to do everything on my own. Eventually, of course, she divorced him. And then she bought out her partner. Then she bought the building.
Good for her. Great for her.
I just love the line. Eventually, of course, she divorced him. And then she bought out her partner. And then she bought the building. Going back to the line of hardworking, saving every penny, investing carefully. She bought the building.
It's a good investment.
Right. I mean, it's an obvious investment, but it was just kind of like, they make a point of mentioning that she invested carefully, and then they end it with, and then she bought the building. I'm sorry, that had nothing to do with anything we've been talking about. I just thought it was a really amusing article.
Well, that's fine. We're clearly at the stage where now we're just looking at shit to talk about.
I'm sorry, I'm boring.
You're not boring. You had more to say than I did.
That's only because I'm angry and full of spite.
And watched more things.
I'm only watching things because I have no life. Like, I'm supposed to get out there and do things, and instead I just sit at home in my basement and watch cartoons. I'm told by others that I'm a loser, but I just don't really care at this point.
Well, those others are wrong.
Those others don't really matter, honestly. And like, quote, this is what you're doing with your weekend? Yes, it is. Why don't you do something productive? What do you suggest? I don't know. Great. Well, I'm going to do that then, because this is still more productive than you trying to figure out what I'm going to do.
I forgot there was cake in front of me.
Yum, cake. We still have some banana cake upstairs. We had a little family get-together. We originally were doing it because my aunt who's visiting from out of town hadn't seen my uncle who's her, like, little brother and his kids since, the only time we've seen him is 4th of July. The only time she's seen him and the kids is 4th of July. And they basically told, as far as I could tell, basically said, we're not coming down, screw you. I don't know what the story is. I think they had stuff going on, but it was like, they made a point, like, everybody made a point to, like, make food and get together. And they're like, you should come down. And they're like, yeah, no, we're good, thanks. Like, okay.
Well, then.
And everybody's devastated, and I'm just like, it happens.
Food.
So we had spaghetti and, like, Italian sausage and garlic bread, and my mom made banana cake, and my aunt made cherry chocolate whatever cake, and yeah. Anyway, so that's a thing.
Well, I went bowling yesterday.
How did that go?
It was fun.
The real question is, can you lift your arms above your head today? Yay! Okay, you're good.
It's not like I chose a ball that was way too fucking heavy for me. It was 10 pounds?
Yay.
I think.
I have no idea what's too heavy or not heavy enough. I'm sorry. I just usually just grab a ball when we go bowling. I'm not like... I haven't been bowling in years. It might be fun now that I'm old enough to drink.
Maybe.
Like, the last time we went bowling, we were still underage, so I imagine, like, when you can have a beer, it's probably more interesting.
I hate beer, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, I live in the Midwest, so it's like, not only is it bowling, but it's like bowling in a seedy bowling alley that, like, should have closed down, like, 20 years ago.
Oh, no, this is like, was repurchased by somebody else a couple years ago.
Okay.
Cleaned up, new systems, do the late night glow bowl.
Oh, man, how exciting.
Yes. Got to meet Greaves' new budding romance.
Yay.
I approve. So I don't have to murder them.
Yeah, sorry to hear that the previous one has gone, like, upside down?
And inside out.
Right.
Like, oh no, we'll stay friends. We're not staying friends.
Right, no, the ex has not defriended me, so I'm still seeing all the angry messages, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she hasn't defriended me either, and apparently is talking shit about me behind my back.
Like, not that you would probably give a shit.
No, I give a shit that she's talking about it.
Right.
Like, saying things that I would never do. Not that she knew me that well, just... It's like, you clearly never actually knew me, sort of thing.
Right, like...
How did I let you get within 5 inches of her?
More the fact...
Kind of deal?
More the fact that you're supposed to... I mean, supposed to both be grown adults, and somehow you let it become this fucking toxic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you have to be buddies or friends or anything, but, like... Square up and go your separate ways. Jesus Christ.
Greaves trying.
I know. I'm not commenting on either side. I'm just saying, like, I've had exes where it wasn't, I was salty, but it was never, like, overtly vicious.
Yeah.
In fact, the one girl, like, we still talked every once in a while. Like, we weren't like buddy friends, but we still, like, like, if I saw her, I'd be like, hey, how's it going? Do you have a nice day? Like, it wasn't, like, we weren't close anymore, but it wasn't, like, overtly angry or malicious. What, I'm a weirdo.
You and your anime.
Wah, 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 wah. It's just like one of my Japanese animes. I made one of the guys at work just, like, roll on the floor laughing when I referenced the big anime titties clip. Dude, you should have seen her. She had some serious honkers. I mean, some serious bodog honkaroos. Just the biggest set of dohonka lonkaroos. It just kept going, and he's just like, he's trying not to laugh. He's like, would you please stop? And I showed him the clip. And I can't even do the long one. It's like, bungala hungala hungaloos or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. I'm like, it's like distilled Japanese anime. I mean, I guess I have some new stuff I haven't opened yet.
You mean you have boxes?
Not really boxes. I have cartons.
Cartons? Let's ASMR this up.
They're like singles. I have some stuff coming, but it's still like in transit. I know I had There it is. Like, I know I had a yellow cutter somewhere. I'm kind of hungry again, and it bothers me because I've eaten so much today. Okay. Let's see what we got. So used to having a thing on my chest, pocket. Like, what?
When you're not at work.
Right? Oh, wow, what they... Well, that's cool. I got a discount card. I haven't got one of those in forever.
Cool.
So... Oh, that's fun.
What is that? Queen's Blade?
It's like the original Queen's Blade. I like this girl.
Her lack of anything.
Like, I don't even know. Like, it's
hey, at least they're drooping.
Right, a little bit.
Yeah.
The legitimate breastplate held in like with a belt. Like I don't even get that. Like what is? Oh no, there's another strap behind her. I thought like that they just had like a strap across the waist, and I'm like, how is that breastplate even being held on? And I noticed that there's one that like goes under tits. Like okay.
Sure.
Cat. Nope, no discount there. Whatever.
Oh no.
So we've got Darling in the Franxx Part 2.
I still need to watch that.
Apparently,
there's so many
I
animes
watch
I
that
need to
now
watch.
that I have both halves. Plus 100 minutes of extras. That's fun. And
extras.
Camphor, the new complete dub collection.
Camphor?
This is the one where the guy Natsuru used to dream about being a real lady killer, but being turned into Camphor, a female fighter who's supposed to fight and kill other girls in combat. That's not what he had in mind. To make things even more complex, she/he's only a girl part-time, and she/he will be moving in with 3 other gorgeous Camphors. We're all actually real women all the time for mutual defense. The fact that more than one of them may have less than honorable designs upon Natsuru's alternating sexualities, it couldn't possibly be a problem, could it? Of course it could, and things really get hopping when Natsuru has to take a job at a bunny girl cafe. Find out what happens when you get in touch with your feminine side, becoming a full contact, no holds barred battle to the death in Camphor.
Okay.
I feel like I just like blew your mind. I don't know. I don't even remember buying this, but okay.
You'll have to watch it and let me know.
I'm sure it's amazing. Just like cuts to me like projectile vomiting. Don't care. Other rebate slip, not rebate slip, discount slip. What do we got here? Oh! And I got the next half of Area, so I can be bored.
I'll try not to fall asleep
This is
during
a show
it.
that's not so much bad as it's just, oh my god, it's so calming. You're just like, and then she... I mean, I legitimately love what this show is, but it is fucking... It's like watching paint dry. I hate to say that. Like, it's not a bad show, it's just so boring. That's everything. Like I said, just curtains tonight, not actual boxes.
That's alright.
I've been threatening it, but I haven't found enough stuff that I actually want to buy that I've ordered like an actual case of anything.
Are we out of stuff to talk about?
Oh, I think my headphones just died. Not died, but went off. There we go.
Can you hear
I can
me
hear you now. I'm sorry. It's quiet for long enough. They shut off.
Yeah. I was wondering if we were out of stuff to talk about.
I can't think of anything. I'm looking at Anime News Network now, trying to find stuff to talk about because, like, I was gonna make a list of topics. I just never got to it.
Oh, I'm supposed to do that, and then I don't.
Same problem. I couldn't think of anything. Like, I obviously we always talk about like what we've been watching and whatnot, but like, being an adult is hard. Like, we're always busy.
Yes.
Like, I think back to when we first started doing this, and like, I was consuming like entire series like in days, and they'd be like, "What did you saw? What did you watch?" Like, well, these 12 things.
Oh, we've still gone for an hour 40-ish.
That's not bad. I think the only thing I didn't talk about was I forgot I'd watched Overlord Season 3, and that was pretty good. What
is that about?
It's like, it's an isekai, it's a transport to a new world, but like, the guy is an evil overlord, so it's like, they're the bad guys, not the good guys.
And he got transported to a new world?
Like, okay, so he was playing a game called Drasril, and in that game, they were a guild of evil characters. So he's an overlord, which is like a big skeleton mage guy, and he was the last. There were 42 or 43 members in the guild, and it works into this whole thing about when he gets transported. So he's there. He's the last one left. The last couple members who were there, like, the game is shutting down, and he's sitting in the guild hall, the Tomb of Nazareth, and Nazarick, and all like the last couple senior members say, "I gotta go to bed. I got work in the morning." Blah blah blah. He's like, "Well, I'm just gonna sit here until midnight when the servers go offline." And midnight comes. He closes his eyes, and when he opens them, it's morning, and he's still there. It turns out that the whole tomb has been transported to a new world. He's like stuck in the body of his character. It's like in VR, so like he's actually the character now, and like the NPCs that all of the 43 people made like are real now. They have personalities and they talk and they think and they're real people, and it's all about like their adventures, trying to figure out A, where they are, B, he's trying to figure out if any of the other members got transported to the world, and like where they are, like where they are, where he personally, the group is, like where can he get home? Is this permanent? But he's quote unquote a bad guy because he's an overlord. It's like a skeleton, evil skeleton mage. So this whole thing about like they're not the good guys, they're the bad guys, quote unquote. Like he's the evil overlord. And evil's not a strong word because he's not like particularly, I don't find him to be particularly evil. I mean, he is, but like he's not like overtly just killing people for fun for the most part. He has a soul, like he's still him on the inside, but like he's been, I don't want to say corrupted, but kind of because he's now an actual overlord, like his feelings about like humanity are numbed. He doesn't mind killing people. I guess that's the way I put it. Like he doesn't like take joy in it, but he doesn't like, he's not like, I don't find him to be actively evil. He's just kind of indifferent. He's doing whatever he can to survive, to further the goals of his organization. So he's just kind of like maniacal almost. And there's all these weird subplots going on. Like there's a succubus named Albedo that's like the head of his, like, you know, underlings, and she's in love with him. And there's another girl called Bloodfallen Shelter who's a vampire who's also in love with him. And there's all these adventures and blah, blah, blah. It's like magic and medieval, and he's jockeying politically. He's subterfuge, double agents. It's good. It's 3 seasons so far. I really like it. It kept me enthralled through all of it. I never was like bored going, I don't like this show anymore. So something worth watching. Like I would actually suggest everybody give it at least a try. I'm not saying like it's everybody's cup of tea, but it's comedy, it's drama, it's fantasy, it's a little bit of horror because they're bad guys. So there's like, there's a lot of like they dissect people and there's monsters, but not like terribly so. It's a horror motif less than like a horror show, in my opinion.
Okay.
Right. I was talking to my friend Spaghetti about it because she's really into horror, and I was like, the motif is horror, but there's not a lot of like, it's grotesque, not like suspense. Because they're doing these genetic experiments and they're working with monsters, and it's, and he's a big skeleton, and his subordinates are vampires and succubuses and rock monsters and giant bug monsters and demons. It's very, very interesting.
There we go.
That's right, scratch the butt. But scratch a hoe. But yeah, that's all I can think of. Anything else you want to add?
No. Again, just trying to exist until insurance gets set up.
I hope it's soon. I can't believe they denied you. I'm in shock.
It wasn't a denial. It was a fuck up.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry it fucked up.
So I had to resubmit through a different system.
Oh. Like a clerical error?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. The worst kind of error. It's like, what?
And it could take them, I forget when I actually submitted it but from the submittal day, it can take them up to 45 days to even look at it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keeks. I hope it's solved quickly.
We'll survive.
You always do.
It'll just be, annoying.
Right.
Just gonna have to, take good care of the medications I do have.
Right. Poor Ringo. He's so neglected.
Poor thing. I've only been paying attention to you all day.
Oops, sorry. I didn't know that.
That
was my clear American wild cherry. I squeezed it too hard and it like popped back into form. It changed the labels and threw me for a loop.
We got and by got I mean found and cleaned, and luckily still worked, a water cooler.
Yeah, like a water bottle.
No, like a water cooler.
Oh, like an actual, like a 5-gallon Gatorade cooler kind of thing?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. The hot water on it doesn't work, but the cold does.
Oh, like the actual things that you have in your house that you put the 5-gallon jugs on?
Thing into, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We got lucky.
I mean, the hot isn't impossible to fix, but it's not really like...
I have an electric kettle.
Yeah, no, yeah, you don't give a shit, yeah. As I showed you that comic from Devil's Panties where it's like, electric kettle broke, I got this. The hell is that? It takes 30 minutes and it heats 5 liters of water to 208 degrees and then keeps them there indefinitely. I didn't know I needed this. It's so fancy. I think the way your husband describes it, it's an electric kettle on steroids. That's what the Japanese all have.
Yeah. Where they just instant press hot water.
Yeah, you literally put the thing underneath, you squeeze, and it just dispenses boiling hot water. I mean, it's just under boiling, but it might as well be boiling. Like, That would have been awesome when I was in high school for all the cup of noodles. Oh my god. We would have used the shit out of that for cup of noodles. I guess there's a version that you can actually, like, if you're going to leave it in the same place, you can hook it up to the water supply, so you never have to refill it either. It just pulls water in as needed.
That sounds like heaven.
That sounds ridiculous. I'm sure it's super expensive, but, like, when I saw it, and after I talked to you, but I was talking to another friend about it, and he was like, if we were in Japan, they had ones like that. He's like, they just hooked it right up to the water supply. I'm like, that is amazing. He's like, yeah, it really was. Like, you go out in the kitchen and just hit the button and it would dispense boiling hot water. He's like, it made making, like, tea and coffee really easy. I'm like, oh my god. Making coffee with that would be ridiculous. He's like, yeah, we had this deal. You just, like, put the thing on top of the cup, put the grounds in, and just hit the button. I'm like, it's like a Keurig, but better. Because, no plastic.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I kind of want one of those now. Should we call it, I guess?
Yeah, probably.
I just, like, neither of us have said anything for minutes.
Yeah, and I need access to my keyboard.
What cat?
Thank you once again for listening to the Super Happy Fun Jabbertron Tea Party podcast with Kiki and Cupcake. Did you enjoy this episode? I don't really care.
And I guess, good night, Cupcake.
Good night, Kiki.
I'll let you go.
Yay. Night.